What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different but kind of the same. Today we're installing Vorshlag Camber Plates on Ryan's 2021 Camaro 1LE.
My name is Zach Ellis and welcome to my journey. I don't know where I'm going or how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to be tearing shit up every step of the way. Along with a few friends, of course. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be building, modifying, repairing, fabricating, and racing every chance I get.
Terrifying.
But if you enjoy this content, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and of course, enjoy the video.
They got some new coffee at Wawa's. Peanut butter fudge.
Really?
Yeah. I usually just do dark roast, but I mixed half with this because it smells good.
Switch them.
They do bring the camber plates.
They're sitting on the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
That's an authentic question there.
Just watch my
Your lip?
lip.
Yeah.
It's a little steeper.
I got some boards. They're not long, but come in, hope. Let's check that. Yeah, you're good. I'm just gonna take this thing off the roof.
You can tell it's a 1LE because that's the way it is.
Alright, so once you get the car up in the air and you got your wheel removed, it's pretty straightforward to get the suspension all disconnected. The first thing you're going to do is get all your electrical connections off of the coilover itself, and then you're going to want to disconnect the sway bar end link because it attaches to the coilover. You're going to want to disconnect your wheel speed sensor, and then you're going to want to disconnect everything that's related to the mag rod. Basically, any electrical connection that's connected to the coilover has to be removed. And then last step will be disconnecting the two spindle bolts that hold the coilover to the spindle. Once you've got that finished, you can go to the top side and disconnect the 3 bolts at the top. While Ryan is working on getting all the connections disconnected and bolts broken loose, I'm going to show off the camber plate a little bit. So this is the first part of the camber plate. This is going to be replacing the current top hat, so your spring is going to sit around this sleeve right here. That goes on top. So this is a pressed in bearing on the bottom side, so this is going to be controlling when you turn the wheel, making sure everything rotates free. This here just sleeves right onto there, and it also has a bearing in there. The top of the mag rod, the top of the actual shock comes through here. You're going to cap it off here. One thing to note on this is just torque it by hand. Don't use an impact, just because you can break off the top of the coilover. It's been known to happen, so you kind of want to avoid that at all costs. So once it's all bolted into the car, there's an Allen bolt here and an Allen bolt here. These are going to be used to locate this plate in the wheel well. And then you notice these little tick marks right here. These are the actual camber adjustments. So this aluminum piece here on the top that's not anodized will be fixed in the wheel well, and if you want to dial in camber, you're going to loosen these 3 bolts, and you're basically going to push the coilover inboard, which is going to slide this out, and it's going to give you more or less camber. And then you notice there's a big gap right here on this camber plate. This is going to be your caster adjustment. Right now it's dialed right into the center. We're not going to touch that at all. We're just going to leave it like it comes, and we're going to try and put the camber as close to 0 as possible, just so his alignment isn't messed up too bad, at least to the point where he can drive home and get it to the alignment shop. Once he gets to the alignment shop, he's just going to provide the person doing the alignment with the exact specs that he wanted set to. You can get about 2.5 degrees of camber out of this car factory with alignment bolts, but with this camber plate, I think you can get up to 4. Does that sound right? Roughly 4 degrees of camber, which is a lot, but if you know exactly what you're trying to do with the car, it's usable. 4 might be a little extreme for a car you drive on the street, but at least you know you're capable. The other plus side to using this camber plate is, let me get in your wheel well. When you're running on this car, there's a, I don't want to say a big flaw, but it's kind of annoying, is this portion right here, the coilover. If you use a GM camber bolt with a slightly wider wheel, you do run the risk of your rim contacting this portion of the coilover. And it's because the camber bolt is changing the geometry from this knuckle to the coilover. So instead of it being, say, an obtuse angle, it's becoming an acute angle, which is putting the coilover closer to the top of the rotor and the wheel. By running the camber plate, you're using a stock top spindle bolt, which is keeping the geometry factory, but instead of closing this angle, you're just moving the whole entire assembly back. So with this camber plate, you're keeping the factory geometry as far as coilover or strut assembly to spindle, and you're still increasing the camber so you can put a bigger wheel on there. So Ryan actually just got into his car and showed me this. I didn't know that this was a thing. So this is the book that GM provided him with his car. So it's talking about all your track setups. So you can see the caster on the lower models compared to the ZL1, you got a little less that you can dial in. And then it gives you camber setup. So the highest camber you see on here is a 2.7, which is on your ZL1 1LE track alignment. 2.7, like I said, that's a good bit of a camber, and it's going to help, especially autocross. It's not going to hurt you at all. But if you adjust your caster along with your camber and you're running wider tires, you can get away with a lot more camber, which is going to give you ultimate grip in the corner, especially if you're doing a track day where you're hitting corners going 100 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. Your car is really going to want to roll, and it's really going to lay that tire flat. 2.5 degrees of camber versus 3.5 is going to make a world of difference. But other than that, that's pretty much the whole purpose of the camber plate and a little breakdown of it. I will say that the Vorshlag camber plate is extremely high quality. This thing is amazing. The machining is perfect. The anodization looks amazing. The bearings seem solid, and I might be incorrect on this, but it looks like the bottom bearing on it is serviceable, so you'll be able to press it out and replace it with a new one if it were to fail. Don't quote me on that. I mean, it's pretty basic mechanical, so that's at least nice to know. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start. We got all the electrical connections disconnected on it, and we're gonna start working on the spindle bolts. Then we're gonna jump in the wheel well and disconnect the 3 bolts on the top side, and we're gonna remove that completely. And we'll probably go ahead and compress the spring, install the camber plate, and reinstall it before we do the other side. All right, so we got the wheel well side all disconnected. You got the sway bar end link sitting there. All the electrical connections are disconnected from the actual spindle itself, or from the wheel well. All the electrical connections are disconnected from the coilover itself, or the strut assembly itself. Now we're working on the top side. Once you get those 3 bolts disconnected on the top side, it's just gonna fall right out. This is a very basic job, removing a strut assembly. The only issue with the mag rod is all the electrical connections. I'm sure it's probably not the lightest thing ever. Boom.
There it is.
So, there it is.
Wow.
It's like kind of weird. Feels like there's play in it, but I don't think there is actually play. If you wiggle it,
Yeah,
it
it is bearing play, I'm sure.
But I mean, this car, how many miles are in your car? 6,000, 7,000?
4,400.
Oh my god. So his car has 4,400 miles on it, so it's basically brand new. So we didn't have any corrosion issues. All the hardware come off pretty easily. But next step is going to be to compress the spring. We've got a rental spring compressor. Oh my god. No way.
Did we die? Did you die after you drank it last week?
I was 100%. I don't think I did.
Dude, I was like, oh, I could go for some.
I mean, it's been like 7 days.
It looks like fucking skin.
It is.
Look at it. I'm sorry.
Ugh, that's nasty. Like a week ago, we drank that. It was like a week, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I shit myself afterwards.
Watch it like be like mushrooms that grow here. And the next.
That's crazy.
That's fucking disgusting.
Wow, we got lucky. So next step is to compress the spring. Once the spring is compressed and there's not any stress between the spring and the top of the housing, you gotta peel out this dust boot, which is not very tight in there. And inside of the dust boot is the actual top nut to the spin or to the shock. Alright, we got the assembly all put together. Fucking bitch.
Except for the big tire.
We got the actual plate up there mounted, and now Ryan's fitting it up from the bottom. Whoops. There we go. Push her up. You might have to push the little metal plates up.
Yeah, do this one.
So we got the plate up in here, temporarily installed. The bolts just have to be tightened, and then we will reattack the bottom side. All in all, this is a pretty easy job. I think anybody has any prior knowledge messing with cars could do this. Just the camber adjustment part. The camber adjustment part is where it gets a little tricky, but your alignment shop's going to be dealing with that. Everything in the wheel well reinstalled. Everything's torqued. The last thing we're working on now is just the sway bar end link. When you jack up one side of the car with the other side still on the ground, you have to put a second jack underneath the brake rotor to compress the suspension enough to be able to put the sway bar end link back in. Now, if the whole front end was up in the air, you wouldn't have this issue. But just know, if you go to reassemble and you can't get the sway bar in, that's the issue. You just gotta jack it up. We got everything in here. We've got the top of the spindle, that bolt there, it's a slip joint. So you can either dial in a little bit of camber or pull camber out. We went ahead and set it so there's zero camber, or if anything, it might be positive camber. We pulled as far out, that way there's a greater angle, I guess you could say, from the wheel surface to the strut assembly, only because we want to prevent any chance of the tire making contact with the strut. Now, it wasn't making any contact before, so we know that it's not going to contact, but this is going to help us ensure that we get the same alignment on both sides. And then we'll get all the camber adjustment from the camber plate, not from camber bolts. So we got the wheel on and put down on the ground. It's a little bit of a almost zero, maybe even a half a degree positive camber. We're gonna get it up in the air, and we're gonna dial max camber on it to see what we can get to. That should be good. If we dial in the max camber on the camber plate right now, it's gonna give us X amount of degrees. If we wanted to get more, we could go back to that top spindle bolt and push it in just a little bit more and get another half degree probably.
I think you can just push it. Or do you think it's because the weight of the...
Put your hand on the spring underneath there. Up inside, push it that way. We'd have to pick up on the wheel and push it.
Wow.
Where's the wrench at? Yeah.
Ready?
Yep. Alright, you're good. Camber. Yeah, like that changed it, but not a whole lot.
Oh, it's It's a lot more than it was before. Well, I mean, it's more than it was.
Well, we can look at that side.
Yeah, because the giveaway is the tire.
Yeah.
Because that tire was coming almost to the edge. And I'm slightly turning. There. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I'm going by how much meat's hanging out here.
Yep. All right, we got the driver or passenger side completed. We went ahead, we dialed a little bit of camber from the factory setup with the camber bolt or the whatever the top spindle bolt. We dialed a little bit of camber in there. We did not max it out just to ensure the proper clearance between wheel and strut assembly. And then we maxed out the camber on the camber plate, mainly to get an eye of what it's going to look like on the car. What you can see here, the tire is tucked way in now compared to what it was prior to doing the camber plates. We put on the custom fender flares originally so that rocks weren't flinging up on the car, because the tires did poke about, I'd say, almost an inch. So we got the Z06 fender flares on here now, which made it look factory, like the tires did not poke. Now you dial camber in, the tires are tucked a little bit, but that's what Ryan wanted, mainly because these sticky tires flung rocks all over the side of the car. So we're kind of trying to balance that thin line of fitment looking good, but practicality is met. So he's running 305/30 19s on the front with a positive 35 offset. And then in the rear, it's a, let's see, 315/30 19 with a positive 11?
Yep.
Positive 11 offset. So there's some meats. The rear fits almost perfect. And then the front, with either the Z06 fender flares or the camber plates, they fit perfectly. You could even go with a little more poke on the front if you're going to be running camber all the time. And a lot of it, I should say. But we got this side all finished up. He is currently working on the driver's side, and once we get it all buttoned up, we'll take it for a test spin just to make sure everything is copacetic, nothing's fucking clunking or clinging, and then we'll wrap this up. See the freaking camber in them things. Oh man, you can really see it now. Some camber. Oh my god, yeah. This front right is camber. But I don't know. That's 2, you're like 8 maybe. Should we take a spin? Jesus Christ. Sounds solid.
No, it's really fucking crazy, actually.
Like turning, this is going to be so aggressive.
Yeah, because it like sucks in, sucks you in. Like we're in touring mode right now, right?
And it just feels dirty.
Everything's loose. Like your steering's not tight, soft. You know what I mean? If I bump it down to sport mode, the steering wheel gets tight.
Correct.
But still.
So if you say you run this thing to 3 degrees camber and you dial like a
I think it's a 1/16 of an inch toe in. Yeah, left, sorry. It makes your turn in very aggressive. So when you turn that wheel, that fucking inside wheel catches quick and it whips you right into the turn. For me, I went with a factory alignment with the requested amount of camber for drivability on the street. If you go right, you might be able to get some speed. Maybe. Traffic is a bitch on this road.
Let's make this guy shit himself.
God damn. I mean, that thing just gets up and fucking goes, dude. Holy fuck. My face probably looks scared. I was concentrating like I was driving. This left here is to get to the garage.
See how she dodges the, dodge a pothole.
Jesus Christ. This thing's crazy, isn't it? Camber makes a huge fucking difference.
This is impressive.
If you've never driven a car with some camber, like a reasonable amount of camber, like 2 degrees, it's a game changer as far as being responsive. Damn. That's crazy. That thing kicks right around. Now at this stop sign, when you're going straight, the road is fucked up. I hit my front support on the ground with one section. It's so fucked up. Yeah, so this thing runs fucking good.
It'd be like, I'm looking forward to like getting it all
squared
up.
Yep.
And then we'll revisit because it's
yeah, with this much camber, she gonna be darty regardless.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter.
I'm alright with that though, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't really. It'd be pretty badass to run down to Ocean City, Maryland with this thing like this though.
Fuck yeah. I mean, like, think about my cars. I drove 12,000 miles with those front tires on my car with that much camber. And my alignment was not quite great. That was like, I had like 3.2 degrees of camber.
Okay, so
the camber's not going to kill your tires. It's the alignment. You do an autocross alignment where it's toe out a hair.
Yeah.
They're going to eat quicker. Now you do a factory alignment with the camber. They're obviously going to wear on the inside a little bit, but not as fast as if you had a.
Yeah.
Your toe is what's fucking your tire.
Yeah, because it's gonna. Yeah. No, I
so as long as your toe is square, the camber is going to be.
Dude, I'm down.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, it feels totally different now, doesn't it?
No, it's a night and day difference.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because you would before, without. I mean, I had the factory alignment on there, whatever, and then I did a track alignment, camber bolts. That's a fucking waste of time. Waste of time. Don't fucking waste your time.
GM track alignment. Don't do it.
GM track alignment. It's. I mean, look, if you're like a guy, you just want to go get it and be done. Sure, go for it. But you're going to pay $150 every time to take it back to untrack alignment. You're going to take it back to the factory settings. So it's going to be $150 one way, $150 another way. So every time you go do a track event, you got to do that? Nah.
That's true.
So you do 7 track events, you pay for camber plates.
True. And
right? And you can do it in your garage.
Now, if this was your daily driver,
yeah,
what do you think you would do?
I would probably say I want just a standard alignment.
Factory
alignment.
Street boy.
And then if I wanted to fucking get nasty, I would still keep the camber plates. But I would just jack my car up at the vent and fucking pop them in.
Right. The only issue is when you adjust your camber, you adjust your toe. Now, a track event, if you do that, it will fuck your tires. Now, a autocross, you run what, maybe a mile? You could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna,
I didn't think about that.
If you're gonna daily your car, well, yeah. So if you're gonna daily your car, you can get a factory alignment with the Vorshlag Camber Plates. When you get to your autocross event, if you're autocrossing, not tracking, autocross, you could dial as much camber in as you want. It's gonna fuck your alignment up and add a lot of toe to your car, but you're in an autocross event, you might drive a mile of actual hard racing, maybe 2, I guess, on like a long track, on a perfect day. And at the end, you set your camber back to whatever it was dialed to, because it's all by tick marks. You set the tick marks right, and you're as close to factory as you can get. Yeah. Now, if you're going to a track day, you can't do that, because you think you do 20-minute sessions on a 1.5 mile track?
Dude, I can see it totally eating the tires up, because I think you read a lot of the forum stuff like that in the Facebook groups and all that crap, but you hear about guys and they're like, I just ate a fucking pair of tires on a track day, and I'm like, I guarantee you,
there's something not right.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless they're like,
you should not eat. You should get at least 4, depending upon how hard you're running the car and how experienced you are. You know.
Well, I think that's the big one too. Is like, experience doesn't come just from skill driving on the track. It comes in setting your car up properly as well. Because like, I didn't fucking know that, and I ran with some fucked up ass toe on my car, and it fucked my one tire. Not to the point where it was smoked, but it wasn't as healthy or as early in its life as the other tire because of that, the toe setup. It handled well, but yeah.
That's cool.
You can see how much of a difference.
Dude, I'm all about it, man.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm all about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm glad I did it now, because I was gonna wait longer.
Well, you can already see how much faster this thing will be.
Dude, the turn, like, the first turn that we did, like, in that back road was like,
whoa.
I was like, okay.
Oh shit.
Like, it's meant to be.